Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, how great to see you all here. Come in, you're very, very welcome. I trust you enjoyed my last video on Huey Lewis and the News and through their iconic song, The Power of Love. We looked at that very thing and maybe trying to work out what love actually is. So I trust you found that one encouraging. We're going from there to 1981, Melbourne, Australia. Mainstays John Archer, Doug Falconer and Mark Seymour. And with a fusion of pub rock and arc funk, these guys formed Hunters and Collectors. Now, Hunters and Collectors are regarded as Australian music royalty, the Seymour family in particular. They were signed to Mushroom's White Label Records in 1982. And they were exploring a little bit at the start about what the sound was going to be because they wanted to be a bit different. They thought they had something unique to offer the Australian musical landscape. And when they brought a bit more keyboard and brass into their mix, it kind of really catapulted their sound into the iconic Hunters and Collectors sound. Now, Hunters and Collectors, apart from Mark's brilliant songwriting, and they're very, very, very tight musically as well, they've just got an anthemic status about them in Australia because they've sung many of Australia's anthems, really, in many, many ways. Well, rock anthems, that is for sure. And nothing more typifies this than Throw Your Arms Around Me. This came off the Human Frailty album of 1984. Very much a song about his girlfriend, about having some fun with her and all of the rest of it. This song has been covered by many people in Australia and around the world. It's just got that feel about it. Below we've got an official version, a live version, and when Crowded House did their farewell to the world concert on the steps of Sydney Opera House, they did a little bit of this, and I've got that for you as well. Of course, Mark's brother Nick Seymour was the bass player for Crowded House, and you can see him on the stage there. How cool would it have been for him to hear 100,000 people in Crowded House singing his brother's song? So we've got three versions of that one. In 1987, out came What's a Few Men, and off that and that album went number 16 in Australia and number 9 in New Zealand. So they're starting to get a bit more of a following at this point. And song off that album, Do You See What I See? Live version of that one. Probably where I want to go today. Seeing. Do you remember the movie Avatar? You know, the one with the blue people. And you know, one of the comments was, I see you. Not just your outline, not just your presence, but your innermost being, your innermost seeing. That knowing, that complete awareness of the other person and exploring and knowing that they are who they are because you know them. No one else will actually see them in the same way that you do. In fact, it's quite interesting. You know, I'm seeing someone at the moment, and you know, she looks a lot younger. There's just something about that seeing that we see, and we think, wow, this is quite amazing. Perhaps we're seeing the real person we are seeing. And as we look around the world, do we see the blue sky? Do we see the green grass? Do we see the trees? Do we see the way the sun glints through the trees? Do we look at the moonlight, see the stars? How often do we look up and see this beautiful world that we live on, which is part of a beautiful universe full of stars and planets and suns and all sorts of bits and pieces? So the concept of seeing, obviously we do see with our eyes. You know, our eyes are really, really important. In fact, one of the reasons our eyes exist is for light to get into our body. Light is the thing that triggers the reaction for sleepiness, the chemical that builds up. And when we get to the end of the day, that feeling of tiredness, well, that's a chemical saying, hey, go to sleep. Well, light starts that whole process off. Sometimes we don't want to see the things we see. Sometimes we don't want to really see, that is. Sometimes we're going to pretend to not see because it's easier not to. But do we really take note of the world that we live in the way that we really, really see it? I know for me, if I'm feeling a bit bleh about something, I'll head down Glenelg, not far from here, and I'll go down to the foreshore. And, I could just, occasionally look at this beautiful sunset, or I can actually stop and really, really, really take it in. Because it's a beautiful thing, this sunset every night. And, we sometimes we don't just stop for long enough to actually see what this beautiful thing is that's around us. No, we might have known someone for years, but are we really, really seeing them? Or is our lives a bit like parallel lives where we're walking parallel but never actually connecting? This song by Hunters Collectors is really challenging us to look, hey, look, open your eyes, open your inner eyes, your philosophical eyes, the eyes to your heart, and see what's around you. Because sometimes the world needs help. Sometimes there's people around us that are struggling and need a bit of help, and we won't see that if we're not really, really looking. I think when we do really, really see, the world takes on a completely different focus and a particularly different meaning. Life becomes richer and fuller. More risky, because sometimes we don't want to see the things we see, but you know what? We take the whole life in perspective for a second. It's pretty amazing. I remember going on a show, a ride at the Royal Show. It was one that went upside down and sideways and all over the place. And I was a bit scared at the start. In fact, I closed my eyes. But when I realised that the show was designed to keep me in, I relaxed a bit and dared to enjoy it. And I opened my eyes, and the whole ride took on a whole new meaning because I dared to see, to get over my fear, and to really, really see. So do you see what I see? Well, what are you seeing? Help me to understand what you're seeing. What are you seeing right now? What are you really seeing? What conversation we can have with stuff that we see? We're so lucky to have our eyes, aren't we? Because they see the world around us. They're also the gateway to our hearts and our innermost being as well. And we're really, really lucky to have our eyes, but let's have our inner eyes on as well. I think this is where Mark Seymour was going with this song. So we've got a live version of that one below. We get to Ghost Nation, 1989, a bit of a Hunters and Collectors classic. We got the song When the River Runs Dry. This is all about middle class excess. Mark Seymour's not scared to talk about stuff that needs to be talked about, and music's just a classic platform to be able to do that. So we've got When the River Runs Dry, official clip on that one. Go forward to 1992 with the album Cut. We got another one of their anthemic songs, Holy Grail. This song was all about the quests for, the night quests. This song has also been affiliated with the AFL Grand Final. AFL, obviously the holy grail of AFL footy is to win that premiership, and to hold that cup as you run around the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the MCG. There's a bit of an association with the AFL Grand Final as well. I think they've played a couple of times at the AFL Grand Final, which is pretty cool. In fact, at the beginning of the live clip, Mark makes mention of the first Sunday in September as AFL Grand Final Day. If you don't know what AFL is, it's an iconic Australian sport. Pretty rough, a bit like gridiron with an oval ball, except you've got to kick it and mark it, handballing. Kick a goal, 6 points, kick a point either side, 1 point. So AFL is a pretty big deal in Australia, and the AFL is a massive competition in this country. And of course, if you do get to the premiership, it's pretty cool to actually win it. So we've got a live version of Holy Grail. Between 1982 and 1998, 9 studio albums, 3 live albums, 7 compilation albums, 3 EPs, and 33 singles, around 500,000 albums, so not too bad in the scheme of things in Australia. Obviously, Australia is a smaller market than the United States. The Hunters and Collectors have tried to get into the United States with some limited success. Hunters and Collectors are also inducted into the ARIA, Australian Record Industry Association Hall of Fame in 2005 for significant contribution to Australian music. So the links to those 6 clips are in the description below, and I've also included my last video from Huey Lewis and the News. If you want to recap on them, feel free. Well, if you've come back for another one, this is your first time to Life Reflections through Music, thank you to everyone for coming here, being here for the first time, all that sort of stuff. Well, that's it for today. Next time we're going to go onto the band Hush. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.